That 1-0 win for Southampton, the holders then out, and Southampton really put in a deserving performance, didn't they, ultimately, in that result. And they're going to face Wolves in the 5th round.
Yes, they did. Led from the front. Two boys, Shay Adams and Danny Ings, called the Arsenal back line a lot of problems, caused them a number of issues with work rate and the way they're set up, Southampton. You know, two boys in midfield, done really well, Ward-Prowse and Diallo. I thought they were superb. It's very difficult to not criticise Arsenal, and I say that because I think Arteta's on the right path, but there has to be some decisions made at that football club. One of them is Xhaka, because I think I don't think he's good enough. I think there's too many fouls, there's too many giving away balls. The form of William has been extraordinary of how poor he's been. He's Alexis Sanchez at Man United poor since he's come to the club. That's an issue. I'll ask you a question, Nat, on this. How old do you think Nicolas Pepe is? Just a guess.
I would have... Oh, that's an interesting question. I would say 27.
No, you're not far out. He's 26 this May.
Right.
Okay. Now, he was bought as a 70 million... It wasn't a trick question. He was bought as a 70 million pound youngster out of Lille. You know, and that was a couple of years ago. But he's not no young man. His decision-making is as poor as I've seen from a player because he's a talented lad. And I'm sure he frustrates the hell out of Mikel Arteta, because there's some really good things in there, but there's so many poor decisions in certain areas of the pitch that cause his team problems, like over-elaborating on a ball when he should be passing. He'll maybe go one direction, go the other. Then there's the... getting caught on the ball in certain scenarios, sometimes not defending and helping his fullback out. Cedric didn't play very well on the other side at left back for Arsenal. He played Bellerin at right back. I just thought there's some decisions, because there was a lot of good things about Arsenal yesterday as well. They made a game of it. You know, they lost 1-0 and Southampton are very well set up.
But it was only really in the second half
where
they made a game of it.
Mostly in the second half, And substitutions happened, or a couple of changes made a bit of a difference. But I do think there's big decisions for Arteta, and I think they're happening, but you ain't going to see the Arsenal that Arteta wants, certainly till next summer, next season, because he'll be disappointed, but they're up against a team that are so well drilled and so well set up that they are a far cry from what they were last season. And we touched on yesterday about West Ham and Villa, who are completely two different teams. You know, if you look at what they were last season, easy to play against, loads of goals against. Southampton now are a team.
Interesting. Obviously, Ralph Hasenhüttl, we heard from him just a short while ago where he was talking about, things are going well in the Premier League and why not put out a strong side for this cup tie, which they did. Slightly different for Arsenal in that the players that have helped to revive Arsenal of late, and I'm talking about your Emil Smith-Rowe and Kieran Tierney and Bakary Saka, for example, they weren't picked to start. And the first two players I mentioned, Smith-Rowe and Tierney, weren't even in the squad. They were both rested.
Then they lost Aubameyang, didn't they?
Yes, of course, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Yeah, he was... travel with the squad, but obviously went home for a personal matter, so wasn't involved. But first of all, when you saw the likes of Smith-Rowe and Tierney and Saka not being involved directly in the game, and I know Saka was brought on, that kind of showed you, didn't it, the intent of Mikel Arteta, didn't it? Because those players have been so influential for them recently.
I'll defend him on Smith-Rowe because he's come into the team and he's a very young man. He's 20 years old and he's been brilliant in every game. And I think, obviously, they're playing midweek. So I think he probably thought, that's one I need to take at firing line. Tierney, I think, is definitely... I don't know, I can't prove it, but I think he's probably nurturing a slight injury. Okay. That he's thinking, can he play Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday? Right. So I got a sneaky feeling that Tierney's probably carrying a little niggle that's bothering him, and he doesn't want to risk him at all, and there's a Premier League game. So I get certain decisions. I think he's done a lot right, Arteta. And even though they've had a really tough, challenging season, I cannot believe, and I go back to it, I just cannot believe the form of Willian.
What can you put that down to, Cass?
Nat, he's 31. He's experienced a hell of a lot. He's an international. He's won things at Chelsea at a very high rate. He's been at a very successful football club. He's the most guaranteed type of signing you think you're going to make. Now, some Chelsea fans will tell you he wasn't as good as people make out, which is a valid point. But he's, how can you not have the composure that you should have with experience? How should you, He knows the game inside out. He shouldn't be playing and making poor decisions like he is on the football field.
Not only does he know the game well, he knows the Premier League well. He's played it for so long. But he looks like he's completely out of sorts. And he looks like someone who's never played in the Premier League.
Yeah, I would say that he's lost half a yard in the last 18 months. Now, small margins, has that made a bit of a difference in getting the pass away or getting past somebody, that someone just nicks the ball off you or makes that challenge? I don't recognise him either, because he set a very high standard for a period at Chelsea, and Arteta wanted experience in his dressing room, because he obviously knew he got younger elements of his team coming through, that he would want experienced players around them. He has just played so poorly. I can't make a reason for him of why. All I see is his performances have been so low and so flat.